And we are live. Hello and welcome to The Lion Show. I'm your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today, we have the great pleasure of talking to Lou and Sherri. They are part of the Lou Everett Group and are highly effective coaching, training, and speaking. They're leader development people, and they do a lot of executive training. So I'm just super excited to have them on the show today. They just seem like they've learned a lot of great stuff. They've been coached by Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Tracy, John Maxwell, and a number of others. So I'm just really excited to have you guys on today. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, thanks.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Robert.
you so
Appreciate
much,
you having
Robert.
us on. Yeah, sure. Why don't you go ahead and introduce it? Tell them who we are.
Alrighty. So I share this is Lou, and yes, we are a married couple. So some people are get a little thrown off by that.
We're still married, even being in
Still
business.
married, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and we really love working with small businesses, specifically in the leadership and development, and really with the effective communication. So we are in the corporate trainer space. We're all the executive leadership and personal development, but we love tapping into that management where they get these new roles and congratulations, you got your promotion. Here's your team, and then 6 months later they get fired because they didn't meet their metrics. Well, that's not their fault. It's actually the organization didn't properly equip them. So as most people say soft skills, we call them empowerment skills, and that's where we're the solution to help.
And that brings us right to that level where to add on to what Sherri said, we use our own proprietary method called empowerment leadership that we have developed. And that empowerment leadership system is what we use in coaching and in our training platforms. So we're glad to be here, Robert. Thank you for having us.
no problem. That all sounds really cool. So you mind telling everybody just like a little story, kind of how did you like get into corporate leadership and just coaching? Because that's pretty high up there, just really good accomplishments. I'd like to know about that.
Well, with 4.5 decades combined experience in the leadership space, we realized quite some time ago that we were doing this for other people and other companies that really we were working for them as an employee, and realized that our methods were not being welcomed because the hierarchy and the positional style leadership in a lot of companies, there's a difficulty there. But we knew by our practice of what it is that we do as solid influential leaders over practice over years of failing and getting better, that it was time for us now to provide those solutions to other business owners and companies to help them, if they want to actually move in the direction of where it is that they really want to go, with focus on empowering their people and their teams. So is there one specific thing that happened? Not really, but I can tell you one of mine. It started with me when I was young, like I would say 11, 12 years old. My mother, God bless her, would instead of driving to school to drop me off, or whether she was we're going to the store, I was not allowed to listen to music in the vehicle. She would pop in cassette tapes of Tony Robbins and John Maxwell and all of those people that spoke into my life. So from a young age, it was kind of taught to me. Of course, when you're that age, you're not necessarily as interested. But as you get older, you realize, wow, this is stuff that really works and really matters. So that there was really the beginning of my development into understanding what it is really to be a leader. And then, of course, getting involved in management and things at a young age too, and failing miserably and learning my mistakes. But that's a little bit of my story. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the funny story with me is that ever since I was a little girl, I should say, my mom saw me the littlest one out of the entire neighborhood kids growing up. That here I was telling everyone else what to do, in playtime or whatever, and here I was. So I definitely had the qualities of of a leadership per se. But of course, now it's more positional, but then kind of grew into it and then learned more. But really, I think the pivotal for me was really back in 2018, in August of 2018. I found myself in the hospital in the ICU in the burn center for 10 days, and with a rare disease that ended up, we weren't sure if I was going to live or die. And what led to that in that situation was of being in a job environment that was very high stressful, very crash and burn type of environment, which I was used to that, but it was the leadership at that time that was more focused on the bottom line than they were valuing their employees anymore. And, to the fact that there was unattainable, of working on expectations of working 70 plus hours a week, and even some verbal abuse.
Mhm.
And nobody needs to tolerate that.
Toxicity.
It's the toxicity, exactly. And the more we share this story, the more people will say, oh yes, I know somebody, or oh my gosh, I was in a similar situation. And so, so that's really put for me, really turned it up a notch into diving into more personal development. And I should have done that prior and more into that, but it just, I always put it on the back burner. And that's what a lot of people do. We find like, yeah, I should do that, until a crisis happens and you realize how much that actually is helpful and transforming.
Mhm.
So that's why we're so passionate in what we do, because we want to prevent those pitfalls, prevent those toxic work environments, that it can be flourishing
Mhm.
in that. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
That was a pivotal moment
Yeah.
for us to realize we've got to stop
Mhm.
with being so soft with our approach to companies and even to businesses that we work for or with, and realize we need to do something to change this. We need to take the experiences that we have, because we know what the solutions are to prevent anyone from having to go through the same thing that Sherri went through and that I experienced in that situation. So that is why we do what we do, and why our focus is transforming leaders.
Well, I love it, man. You guys took me on a roller coaster there, and I really appreciate you sharing the story. So I guess I got to ask, like, the $1 million question, of course, is like, what do you think is the 80-20 of good leadership? Like, what really sets good leaders apart? What do businesses really need to focus on to have a quality work environment, so that their employees enjoy working there, and so that they can be innovational and be making more money and be moving forward with their business?
That's a good question. See, the reality of it is, and we come from the corporate space, I've come from the executive level. I was in corporate for a while, and realized that, you see, first of all, we'll start here. It all starts with you as the leader. It all starts at the top.
Mm-hmm.
That culture begins there. The unfortunate part about it is, many companies, what they'll do is they have their core values, they say their mission, and they take and they stick it on the wall and say, all right, everybody, this is what you're supposed to follow. And then, okay, that's great. But what is it that truly, what is a leader supposed to represent? They're the example. As a leader, you're the example. If you don't set the example in those core values, that creates a different culture.
Yeah.
And that culture then begins to trickle down and infiltrate like an infection. So what makes a leader a good leader? First of all, focusing on yourself as a leader and your development first. Can't expect other people to develop if you're not developing you. See, the reality of it is, there's a bottom line. Company we have as leaders, if you're a leader in any role in a business or a company, the bottom line is important. We have to be concerned about the bottom line of a company. That is our responsibility, right? If you have teams that you manage, however, how do you manage that communication between you and them? Do we trickle down that pressure to our frontline workers, or those that we lead, and make them feel that they're responsible for the bottom line? Well, that's a problem, because you took the role as a leader. You accepted that burden, that responsibility to be the one to be concerned about the bottom line, and be able to balance that with influencing your team. So that brings me to that leadership is it's influence, nothing else. Leadership is influence. Because how we influence people is what results we're going to get. So creating culture begins at the top, and how it is that we develop those that we put in position of leaders in a company, that then in turn can spread the culture that we desire to have in our company. It starts there.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think that's really powerful. Got me flashing back to all the random leadership that I've had in my life. I've been in the military, the oil field. I've worked in some big companies, and it's like night and day when there's good leadership and bad leadership. Like when good leadership walks in the room, you stand at attention, and when it's bad leadership, you're like, you want to lead as fast as you can.
Yes. Yeah, you see, and that's it. You're right. That's it.
Yeah.
Because if you're a bad leader, and people are following you because they have to.
Yeah.
Not because they want to, right? And they can't wait till the end of the day comes, so they don't want to think about you anymore. They clock out, they go home. That's it. It's over. And then until the next day. And That's not what true leadership really is. You want people to want to follow you and your example.
Yeah. So I think it's all about putting the right person who is living the influence and living the morals of the company. I think that's a good way to think about it. So I appreciate you doing that. So I understand that you guys are all about like helping leaders get clarity, and I hear you have like a system. Would you mind talking about the 5 steps to clarity, or however that looks for you guys?
Yeah, sure. Well, our this kind of fits in with our empowerment leadership system, and to lead into this, our empowerment leadership system, it's spelled with an M, not EM, so empowerment, right, with an M as the first letter. And that first letter M in this system, each one of the letters of the word empowerment, there's 10 principles. Each one of those letters of that word is a principle. And the first letter is M, which stands for me, because it all starts with you as a leader. It all starts and ends with you as a leader. And it's imperative that we understand what we need to do to transform ourselves personally and professionally in order for us to truly set the example and lead others that are on our teams or lead a company. And we teach this, we've taught this, we teach this over, I can't remember how many times last year. It's 5 steps to move from confusion to clarity. Now, this falls right in line with leadership for sure, but this is anybody in personal growth. So any of your listeners, even if you're not necessarily in a position, quote unquote, position of a leader, we are all leaders in some fashion, especially in our own life, right? And so these 5 steps to move from confusion to clarity, we firmly believe is going to set some very big focus for you to make some steps, and they're not easy steps. So if you allow, start with number 1 if you want. Let's start with number 1. You want to go over that with you?
Yeah, man, I think clarity is just so important. I mean, I think you can't talk about clarity enough with your life, because if you know what you're doing with your life and you know what your goal is, you have it in a clear way to like get to it, then nothing can stop you. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're just all over the place, and you get nothing. You get what you get, what you put in. So I'd love to learn as much as I can about clarity. So take it away.
Yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. And there's a lot of times things that are in our way that we allow in our way, right? So like the first step to move from confusion to clarity is we've got to make an agreement with God or whatever higher power you believe in, that you will have another year of life, and that this next year of life is going to be one of your own design that you're going to create, right? Yeah, that's the big thing. So regardless of what the past year has brought in our life, and we know, okay, unless you've been living in a rock or cave somewhere, that 2020 was a tough year for many of us and for our country. But we have to understand that regardless of what that has brought about in our life over the last year, we need to be committed to making the next year the year of your making, right? Not the making a design of other people's or of the past. That's step number 1.
I love it. So you're basically making an agreement, and you're basically, do you draw out the design in this map, or is this just like agreeing that you're going to live on your terms?
Well, it's a clarity, right? So we just have to make this agreement first, right? So step 1 is to make the agreement that, all right, we're going to live another year, and this next year is going to be of my own making. I'm not going to make this somebody else's year. This is mine. It's my own life, my design. And there's ways that you can go about making that and connecting those dots and making that design. There's something that Sherri and I do with anybody who wants to, is we call it the history of your future. It's a 30-minute, no cost session to anybody that wants it. And it doesn't pay anything except for 30 minutes of your time. It's called History of Your Future. And we take a journey with you. Now, this isn't hypnotism. That's not what we do here. We actually go through a conversation where we take a journey 10 years into your future, of your empowered future, where you see where you want to be. And we work our way backwards on what resources that you use to get there and actually create that design. So you can see it, not just see it, but feel what that empowered future really looks like. And then is your starting point, because technically we don't start here. We need to start there where we could feel and see ourselves being, and then we work our way back. So that is one way you could do it. But that's the first step, is just being aware and being committed that the next year is going to be of your own making, design, and nobody else's.
Beautiful. I love 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Stephen Covey. And that's kind of where that first idea came
Isn't
from.
that a great
A lot of
book?
people. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And then
Yeah,
I was rereading it recently just because it's so profound. So I love that. You gotta,
agreed.
think about what people are going to be saying at your funeral, and who do you want to be at the end of the day? So I love that. But you got to tell me, man, what's the next step?
The next step is to, after you've done that, is you need to stop and take an inventory of who you are
Mhm.
and what's holding you back.
And the biggest challenge is actually the conviction of your limiting beliefs. And we see that a lot in what we do. And I'm sure you agree, because you're in this space as well, that there are limiting beliefs that we have. And we need to make that aware and work on and to move past that. We go back to that comfort zone, right? So we need to push past that. And there's so much, joy, but you have to do the actions.
And that's where that inventory comes in.
Yeah.
And see, that word inventory, Robert, is a big one, right? I remember when I was a teenager, I worked at a CD/tape/record store, those back in the
Yeah.
and it was Strawberries Music in Southington, Connecticut. And one of my responsibilities was to take inventory, right? To make sure that all the music product that we say we have, we actually do have. And at the time, it was mainly by hand. You check off, scratch off based on the code and the numbers. But now, if I was to miscount, there would potentially be a loss, right? So we can't risk loss by not digging deep into who we are and what limits that you believe that you have. See, and here's the biggest challenge, right? We're worth it. You're worth it. You're worth the inventory to make that happen. So we've got to dig deep and find out what those things are. We might need help doing that. And that's another way that myself and other coaches can do that too. Not just us. There's people and resources that can help with that process of identifying what those things are and what those limiting beliefs are. Because you got to start there.
I think being honest with yourself with what's holding you back, I think that's very profound if you're doing the inventory, because you can't just be all about who you are. You got to be talking about, what's actually holding you back. I think a lot of people know what's holding them back, but they don't actually write it down. They don't actually think about it. They're just like, it's just a thing in their lives that they let happen. And then that's where you got to raise your standards and things like that.
That's true.
Love it. Very true. So agreement, inventory. We're getting clear, man. We're getting clarity right now.
See, it's quick. It's quick.
Yeah. Well, cool. What's the next one?
Yeah, the third one. You want to take the third step to move from confusion to clarity?
Absolutely. Yeah. Number 3 is actually, I love this one, because you really have to take inventory of who have you allowed in your life to really make it easy for you to quit or to play small. And you have to think bigger. You just do. So you have to really take that inventory. Again, that's the magic word here. Whose voice have you given the authority to? That's not in harmony with your own empowered future.
Isn't that powerful? Like, who do you think about that? Who have you given authority to speak into your life that is not in harmony with where you want to go? And it's a big step, isn't it? That's a big step.
Yeah. It could be so many things. It could be like the media, it could be your parents, it could be your old boss. You have so many, like we were talking about before, limiting beliefs, and we tend to latch on to the real negative ones for some reason, or we latch on to traumatic things that happens because we feel like that we identify with that. Kind of comes back to your identity.
That's right.
And I'm sorry, do you think that one would be called like think bigger, or is it try and figure out who? Yeah, so it's basically who is like, whose voice is in your head? Is it yours? Is that negative voice? Is that really yours, or is that somebody else's opinion? That you somehow latched on to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like basically choose who you're hanging with, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, whether it's voices or real people. And Jim Rohn, one of my favorite, he said that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I mean, really contemplate that for a minute. I mean, you think about it, right? I mean, the joke could also be, well, during COVID, I had all these kids around. Are you saying that I'm like the kids? Well, maybe. You spend a lot of time with them. You get where I'm going with that, right? I mean, you got to really contemplate, what it is. Who is it that you're really connecting with, and are they really a part and in harmony with where you want to go?
It goes back to the influence thing with leadership. Like if your leader is a good influence on you, then you're thinking in your head while you're doing the actions of that pure person or whatever it is, then you're going to be better off than if you're thinking about just getting the job done or just doing something different. 100%. So how did you guys phrase it again? Just who's in your head basically, or what is it you latch onto?
Yeah. Like who have you allowed into your life to make it easy for you to quit or play small?
There you go. That's what I
was. Whose voice are you listening to? I mean, that's just that alone, right? Whose voice are you listening to?
Taking notes. So
but especially, good. And especially it's like, because, the whole point is that we're also giving them authority, right? If you're allowing that to happen, that means you're giving those people or those voices authority to allow them to speak into you. And we need to take an inventory of what that is, who they are, and start making some changes.
Yeah, man. Wow. Bringing the fire, you guys. Thank you so much. So that's cool. We got 2 more to go, right? So what are the next ones?
Yes. Number 4, get very clear. So this is the 4th step to move from confusion to clarity. And as you're finding, as we're moving down this list, they get a little bit more deep and a little more challenging, right? So number 4, get very clear then on what it is that you want your empowered future to look and feel like. And write it down. Write down, what does this look like? Think on that. Try to stretch beyond the year or the 2 years or the 3 years. What is different about you in the future? And get clear with what that is. And that kind of brings me to what I mentioned before, is with that history of your future journey that we take people on, that help that clarity to see, because sometimes we need to be guided to be able to see that vision. We do this with people all the time, this history of your future, and we work with them.
Really.
It's a roadmap that you end up with. And it's just a conversation. It's nothing, weird. It's a conversation. And sometimes we find that the questions that we ask during that session, it's difficult for people to see beyond 2 years. And so we kind of pull that out so you can really truly feel and see that. Here's a quick analogy, if you don't mind, about what I mean here. Is what virtual reality is? VR technology. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of us probably know that, right? You have the little headset gear on, and you can, even other attachments, and you put this gear on, and you literally can see things in 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5D. I mean, you name it. Technology is so amazing, and it feels like you're really in the moment. Your brain is almost convinced that you're there. And they use this technology in the medical field and in NASA and all these other fields for training. But there was an article I read on this doctor. He was a surgeon, been a surgeon for years. And there was this surgery that was approaching that he had never done before. It was very, very delicate surgery. And what he did was he implemented virtual reality technology to perform this particular operation in that virtual setting. So he's doing it ahead of time before he actually goes in. And he did this over and over again so that he not just can envision what the outcome is going to look like and how to do it, but he literally could feel it with that virtual reality technology. And then he ended up going in and being very successful in his operation. We need to do that as well when it comes to our empowered future. We've got to be able to not just envision it, we've got to be able to feel it. And we've got to make those steps. But the first step to do that is to write them down and identify what is different about you in the future than where you are today. And then work with someone like ourselves to go through that process with you. Because once you have that, it's powerful.
Yeah,
it's very powerful. Sure. So just get clear about what it is that you intend your future to look like.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you think putting that into practice is best? I mean, I feel like having a coach is probably awesome because you have somebody to do it with you, to hold you accountable to doing it. Do you guys believe in like meditating and thinking and visualizing and sitting down every day? Or I guess writing, you said writing is very powerful. So writing down every day, I think that is great. But what do you guys think is a good practice to do that in your life?
reflecting.
Yeah. And
Daily reflection.
Daily reflection and actually to put it in your calendar. This is something that I practice every day, that I reflect at the end of the day. There is space that I not only have a Word document that says, it says it right on top of my document. What are my defeats and wins for the day? And who have I given value to? And that's just a start. There's actually other questions at the end of the week that you can add on to through our mentors that we've learned. But just having that reflection really gives you a thought, really takes that moment, instead of just going on to the next one, next and next, you forget what you do during the day.
Right.
And if you put value to that, be like, wait a minute, who did I give value to? That's and
it sets a standard for the next day.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're in tune with what you really are set out. And one of those other questions could be, did today go in harmony with what my empowered future looks like? Is it going in the direction that I envision myself to be? That's a great place to start. But hey, meditating, reading, reflecting, whatever works to be able to, be self-reflecting and take that time to understand that if you're only going to be able to provide people what they need at the limit of your own growth. Right.
Wow.
So you've got to keep growing, or you're not going to be able to give to the people you really want to give to. Think about that. That's pretty powerful stuff there.
Yeah, she blew my mind saying, did you provide value for someone today? Like, that is so powerful. Like, you could create a massive value snowball if you constantly are making sure that you're providing value and you're making sure that you reflect on it. And if you did, that's really cool. So I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I got the goosebumps just thinking about that.
Yeah, good. It's exciting stuff. Yeah, it is.
It is. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And it just adds more, things to do daily, but that are going to be beneficial though, so that you can really conquer your life and gain clarity. So
that's exactly.
Is there one more?
Yeah, there's one more. You want to take that one?
Yeah, that's fine. Before we get into that one, I wanted to say that, because we want to reflect at the end of the day, you can use that same question when you first thing in the morning.
Yep.
And as you reflect on your day, just takes a few moments to just ponder on the fact, who can I give value to?
Use who can instead of who did, right? So
who can I give value to?
Yeah.
And kind of put that in the universe, and you'll be amazed, especially with this, virtual and lots of one-on-ones. I know I'm doing one-on-ones every day. That's what I want to do. That's what we do or about is who can we give value to today?
Yep. Because as a leader, that's what our purpose is, right? As a leader, it's not about us, it's about them. Okay. That's what influence is, isn't it? I mean, that is what influence is all about. When we focus on other people and helping them, that influences them in a positive way for change. And they know who to go to when they need that help. And you're always going to be there to do that because you're always adding value.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff there.
You guys are rock stars, man. That's so cool.
Hey, it takes a lot of failure and a lot of learning. But when you can catch it, it's big. It's big. So that fifth step.
Yeah. So the fifth one, real quick, is this. It's actually to commit to your becoming. Sounds easy enough, doesn't it? So commit to your becoming. So when you're moving from confusion to clarity, you're living into your empowered, emerging future, and it's not about getting. And so we were just talking about adding value here, right? So it's about becoming.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Becoming, the word becoming it's the process of coming to be something, or of passing into a state of something. So if you commit to your becoming, then you begin to move towards that clarity, because you know what that empowered future looks like. You have those resources. You've literally taken each one of these steps. You've made an agreement that you're not going to, that you're going to live another year, and that it's going to be the year of your own design. You then you stop and you take an inventory of who you really are and challenge those limiting beliefs. And then number 3, you take the inventory of who you've allowed to speak into your life that's not in harmony with your empowered future, and make the changes. And then you get very clear, number 4, of what is it you want that future to look like. You write it down, you think on it. What's different about me in the future? And then you commit to that becoming, because that's what creates clarity, because now you know the resources. Now you've figured out the steps because you've been using the resources around you. It's very powerful.
Oh man, super powerful. Van, I love that we put this together, and thank you for bringing it to everybody, man. That was awesome.
Oh, no problem.
I'm still like in shock. I think so much clarity, man.
It's more like, man, do I really want to dive this deep, or it's worth it.
No, I love going deep, man. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
I guess I just have my question is, what do you guys tips for staying focused on this? I mean, we talked about reflecting every day. I understand. I think that's really good, but there's just so much shiny object syndrome, and there's so many things that could take us off our path. Like if we go through all this work and then like we'll read it, like we'll see something on YouTube and be like, oh, now I'm going to become a dog doctor. Like, you know how life is strange like that. So do you have any tips to help the listener or myself or anybody just gain focus to make sure that you stick to this? Like, is there like a daily task, or how do you guys do that?
Well, that's what the commitment piece is, the challenge,
Right.
when there's so much going on around us. But that goes right down to, again, step number 3, not just taking the inventory of what's speaking into our life and what it is that's distracting us. So that's also part of that step. And not just doing that, being aware of it every day, but also taking the action once you become aware of it. You know what that means, right? That means I'm not going to sit here and watch some of this garbage news on TV every day, if
Right.
that's what's distracting you. I'm not, and get you worried and get you unfocused. I'm not going to spend 3 hours, 4 hours on YouTube trying to figure out what my life is going to be like, because you've already done that in step number 4. So that first, making that commitment takes action. But there's one other thing that's missing, is we need accountability. Now, I don't know about you, Robert, but I'm pretty terrible at being my own accountability partner. Okay.
We like to think that we're
we like to
accountable,
think,
but
Yeah.
it doesn't quite work that way.
It doesn't.
Fortunately, I've got an amazing accountability partner here already,
Yeah.
and she does that for me. But I don't just have my wife, because we need to have somebody who doesn't have that emotional attachment to us, that really cares and wants to add value, but also is going to hold us accountable and tell us what needs to be done. And that's why, for me, each of us, we have 5 coaches. That is no joke. And it's because, well, I'm a lot of work. Sherry's not. I'm a lot of work. And, and I'm talking, okay, if I want clarity in business, I've got a coach that's going to help me in the sales business side. I've got a coach for empowered living, like we're just talking about here. I've got a leadership coach to help me continue to be a strong community servant leader. I've got a coach that's going to help me with my speaking. And I've got a coach that's going to help me with my coaching. You see, it's imperative that once we have that clarity, that we have accountability, and we have someone that we can rely upon. That's good when we do get unfocused, to say, I don't know why I was unfocused this week. And then that person can guide you with the use of questions. And what we use as our method is to guide you to find out, okay, what was it that happened? And how can you make that not happen again? And you make those calls and you make those decisions, because you see, when you decide, that's better commitment than if I tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be told the answer. But I realized over the years that telling you the answer is not what you need.
it doesn't stick.
You need to figure it out. You need to find the answer. I'll guide you in that process. And if all else fails, I'll ask you permission. Hey, I got a suggestion for you. But we need an accountability partner. If you really want to be successful in what is it you do, you cannot do it on your own. You can't. We need people, and people that really want to help you and add value. That's what I suggest.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'd like to talk just a little bit about that. So instead of having one like supreme super coach, you figured out kind of how to have a coach for all things that are important in your life. I just want to pick your brain on like, how do you go about finding those coaches? Like, do you have the way, or do you just Google it? Like, how do you think about it?
A lot of times it's we're very fortunate, because you see, one of the things that Sherry and I have been very blessed to be a part of is the part of the John Maxwell team. And we've connected with John Maxwell, and I've been working with John for a number of years as my own mentor, both books and over the phone through the John Maxwell team. But then, of course, as they grow, now we've got some other solid people there. So the point being there is, and that's not the only thing we do. Obviously, we just use that as an additional assistance that help us to be able to help you. But when looking for a coach, maybe you tell me if you think I'm wrong with this, but when looking for a coach, the number one thing is to make sure you're a fit, that they're a fit for you too.
Yeah.
Right. Are they, so as an example, there's a connection of ours who's an amazing sales coach, amazing sales and marketing coach. If I'm looking for a personal development coach or someone who's going to help me with my personal development or my leadership development, that may not be the avenue to go, right? You want to go to someone now they're great at what they do, but go to someone that really fits in with what it is that you need. That's number one. And do you have the same, vision, right?
And values.
And values.
Right,
That's
values.
a big one. The values. Yeah, that's a big one. Are your values the same? And that's big because you're going to be spending time with them. You want to trust them to really guide you in that process. And if all else fails, you don't know who to go to, connect with somebody that might. Ask around who people recommend. In all honesty, when it comes down to it, someone out there that says I'll make you $1 million in 3 months if you coach with me, that may not be the person for you. You don't know them yet. Let's talk to somebody that maybe, especially when you're just starting in a coaching relationship, it's the first time you've ever done it. Use your resources and see what other people think about them. Cool. That's big.
Yeah, that was awesome. I understand that you're an author too. I'd like to know what books have you written a book, and you have another one or something coming out?
Yeah, I've written articles. I've actually assisted with putting articles in books up to this point. But I do have another published, but that was quite a while ago on a different topic. But we're in July. Sherri and I are both co-authoring this book, and it's Empowerment Leadership: the 10 Principles Every Leader Must Follow to Lead with Influence. And that is set to another coach, by the way. I didn't do this on my own. I realized I love to write. I have all these ideas, but I need to have someone there that kind of coach me, hold me accountable. So I went out and found one by word of mouth. I checked with them, met with that person to verify if we really are a good fit. And then I went ahead and said, you're a good fit. You're going to guide me with your program and your outline. So in July is the release date, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. At least you guys are doing the work, man. That's wonderful. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more about your executive training. Do you guys get like word of mouth referrals, or what kind of big businesses do you work with specifically, or who do you kind of try and work with?
Yeah, great question.
It's a combination.
We did a combination.
Yeah, it's a combination. We've really spent the time, especially since COVID, has really had took advantage of more one-on-ones and building that network, building a referral network, and really just getting to know other people, right? And you may have a lot of followers or maybe just people in your network. We focus a lot on LinkedIn, but how well do you really know them? Yeah. Not to say you need to know everything, but it's like, hey, we're connected, and hey, how can I bring value to you? It all brings back to value.
All starts there.
And if you put that mentality in and really, you'll be amazed of how many opportunities can come from that. Yep. Which is amazing. So it's a combination, but we've also have been turned up more being a social presence, making sure being consistent with their messaging, consistency, even if it's just one post a day. A lot of people get overwhelmed. There's a statistic out there to be on social and make a certain amount of posts per day. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 5 to 8 as last I heard. It seems
kind of out of control, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who has time for that, right? Yeah. But thank goodness there's other schedulers and things that you can use,
Right.
But I get it, because on average it takes 8 to 10 times for somebody, for the touch points to really pay attention to you.
Remember it, right?
And be like, oh wait, what's going on? Wait, who's Robert? Oh wait, I think I saw something. And it just takes that long.
That's why they have commercials that run the same commercial over and over again, because it takes that many times for us to remember it, right?
Yeah.
And so that helps draw people into us, because that's what we do. We try to give people, just our focus is to give as much as we can give, so that people are aware of what it is that we can help them with. But we work with companies, small business, all the way up to the corporate level. We have clients that own their own business, and they only have 1-2 employees. Like, that's real small, right? A case study I could give you real quick. We worked with we're still working with her. We call our clients partners, by the way. We use that terminology because we really are partnering with you in your success. And when we started with her, she had her business started for, I think it was 3 years or 4 years at that point, but it wasn't really growing at all. It was just her. And she had just hired on this part-time assistant because she had more work than she could handle, but was scared because she didn't know how she was going to pay this person. And so here we are. So, well, let's work together. And so we worked together, and within 3 months, 4 months time, she saw doubled her business as far as her clients. She's had 3. She went from 3 to 12. Now she's at 30, almost 30, I think it is. And then we're talking about within a year, a little over a year, and has tripled her business revenue, and is now needing to hire on another full-time person. Made the other one a full-time. He's bringing another full-time person and a part-time person. So her business is really growing because she put it into practice, put it to use. So we work with individuals and business owners on that level as well, who's been in business for a little bit but is stuck. And we also work with those who work for big corporations. We have a partner now. They came to us and said, "Hey, I am the executive of sales for all of Americas for my company, and we got my boss. We call him a boss, right? His leader transitioned out, and a new leader came in, and he didn't know this leader, and now that leader is a very different leader. Communicates very differently. He has a difficult time communicating. As a matter of fact, even said, you've got all this stuff I need you to work on. You're not doing well, and you got 6 months to prove me wrong." He says, "I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got a family." So we work with him, and it was amazing because not even 3 months in, after working through a pre-coaching plan and really holding him accountable, we meet weekly. 3 months in, the boss that he was having a difficult time communicating with and connecting with, because the boss is more of a positional style leader, not an influential leader. We worked through that, and instead of losing his job or risking that, he actually got promoted to a separate department. And now his concern is work-life balance and not worried about winning over his boss. See, so and then, of course, we go in and do corporate training in the corporate level too, on communications, time management, things like that. But just to kind of throw out to you in the audience a couple of our very successful case studies of our partners. And those are just 2. We've got several more, but it's all the work they put into it. They did it. They follow the process, and when you follow the process, it works.
Love it. That's so awesome. I know I wanted to hear some of your case studies. Is there anything else that you're real kind of excited about in your space and your work?
Well, yeah. Well, put it this way. It kind of sounds weird being excited about this, but here's the thing. You have to agree with me that we are in a leadership deficit right now. Yeah. We have been for a long time. Not just, I'm not talking political. I'm not just talking about that. Okay. Because we know there's challenges there. There always will be. We're talking about in business, in corporate, in everyday life, right? Just as a father or a mother in a family, there's leadership responsibilities there too. We are in a leadership deficit. And John Maxwell calls it, we're leadership sad, right? We have those moments like, why is it they're just not doing the thing they're supposed to do? And while most people, we're excited about that because that awareness is now is at the fore. And Sherri and I, and every leader needs to be this way. You have become a leader. You've been selected to be a leader, and you've chosen to accept that responsibility as a leader because now you need to be prepared for crisis. See, and that is where many leaders failed.
Yeah.
Is being prepared for crisis, because in times of crisis, who do people look to for guidance? Leadership. And those that have influenced in a positive way. So we're excited because when COVID was happening and all that, we sat back, Sherri and I did, and of course we have amazing coaches. And we said, now what can we do to really help through this? Because we could see we knew that the COVID closings were going to happen. We knew this ahead of time. We could see it coming because of who we connect with. And we envisioned this was probably going to happen. So then we sat down and said, what can we do for people during this time? So we literally says, we're just going to start giving them, just overwhelming them with value at no cost. And that's where we came up with this training of the 5 steps move from confusion to clarity. And we created a mastermind around 15 invaluable laws of growth. And we just gave it away and let's just do this to give value to people.
Yeah.
And that's why we're excited. And this year we're doing something different. We're creating a change your world transformation table where we're calling on all leaders to join this table for 6 weeks, and with the purpose of adding value to ourselves individually. So you as a leader adding value to yourself. We come together, we facilitate it, but we're working on this together where we work on values and purpose of being a leader so that we can influence those around us in our community, in our state, in our country, in the world. And that's no cost either. So I'm really excited about stuff like that. So that's what we've got coming up. And I think we got something else too. We're starting something else here recently too.
Some webinar series.
We've got a webinar series too coming up that I'm excited about, and that's the Empowerment Leadership webinar series. Yeah. So that's going to be coming up. So a lot to be excited about, Robert.
Well, I'm excited for you. I love the idea that you're positioning as a leadership in a difficult time when there is what did he say, sad leadership?
Yeah, right.
I think that's pretty funny, man. It's so awesome. Well, I got one more question that I'm asking everybody, but before we get into that, why don't you tell everybody the best places to find you guys on social media and to get in contact with you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, luckily you can reach us out on our website, loueverettgroup.com. You can reach us out on LinkedIn as well as Facebook and also Instagram as well. So we are out there.
Google us.
Yeah.
Just Google Lou Everett Group and you're going to find us. I'll promise you.
Perfect. So what I'm asking everybody is, what really motivates you, and maybe what is motivation?
What motivates us and what is motivation? Okay. What is motivation? Maybe I'll start with that.
Sure.
What is motivation? Motivation is something, a lot of times things we can't see, that drive us towards something that we want to go, where we want to go, an accomplishment, no matter what it might be, something that drives us there. A lot of times that drive might just be a thought, but motivation, just the word, when you say it, it feels like action. Mm-hmm. So motivation takes action. So, having a thought is not motivation.
Right.
Having an idea, perfect example, January of any new year comes around. What do people want to do? I want to lose weight. Yeah. I want to join the gyms. Mm-hmm. And then March comes around and we're paying for gym membership, so we're not using or whatever,
Yeah.
Right? Are we, now we're back to eating burgers instead of, lean cuisines or whatever. So, and so it's, because it takes the action. Motivation takes action, and
the mindset too.
And the mindset
piece. Too. Yeah,
you've got to have something there for that.
Yeah, that's a definitely key. It has to be aligned. You can think, and then you can maybe do the action. That's great, but it's a thought, and also the mindset has to be new. Has to be new habits. And that's why, going back to the fitness, which is most common, is that, yes, we all know we need to lose, just to be a healthier weight to make ourselves healthy. But if we like, how food can be restrictive, right? That's usually the first thing. However, if you have a bad mentality around food, then, food is just going to be this negative thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like this weird block. So if you have the looking at it differently and perspective, mm-hmm. and the mindset behind the food, that can actually be a good thing, depending on what you're fueling yourself with, mm-hmm. you have a whole different take on that. So mm-hmm. you don't focus on the number and the scale and everything, but you're fueling yourself for the right reasons, mm-hmm. mentally and physically.
Yeah, sure. The mindset mm-hmm. has to be first.
Yeah.
So that goes back to that definition of motivation. Mm-hmm. Motivation is something or someone that causes you to take that action, but that mindset has to be right. Mm-hmm. Like why do we say lose weight? Well, I know the first thing I want to do when I lose something like my keys, I want to go find it again. Instead of saying lose it, why don't we just shed the weight, right? Let's shed it. Let's shed these bad habits and get new habits, right? We got to squeeze those out, but just focus on the new and not the old is what's going to drive you to motivation. What motivates us? What motivates you?
Motivate me?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to value. Transforming today's leaders. That is our tagline, and there's a reason and there's a purpose. And that's really what we really walk the walk with that. Mm-hmm. We love working and partnering and collaborating with our clients and seeing that transformation, going from right where they are, meeting where they are, and seeing that growth.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And that's what motivates me, because we know that that we got to change. We have to change for the greater good. And there is a lot of good in this world. We have to just be eye-opening to it.
Mhm.
And that's what we want to be a part of, that change. So that's what motivates me, is seeing that
Mhm.
transformation in people for the greater good, and to see that go on, and to see those great habits. So that's what helps me motivate, to see who else can I help? Who can I give value to, that they just need that clarity.
Yeah.
And hence that's why we talked about this today,
Yeah.
confusion to clarity. There's so many folks out there that are confused, rightly so, but there is clarity. You just have to make that action and make that step.
Yeah, take those actions.
Mhm.
And that's why we're great partners, because those are exactly my motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the same thing. Easy. We have a little dream. We have a dream board, and that we keep up. And we see in the office, and Sherri has quotes and things around her office and my office that we do. I do the same thing, and it's what motivates, again. We all run low on fuel, but just like anything else, and we went through these steps today, is when we can really truly see and envision what it is we want to be, where we want to go, and how to get there, and we've connected with the right people to get us there. That's going to give that's the roadmap. That's like the GPS right there. Okay, we may have to readjust the course, but the end is still there. Our destination still exists. I got to keep our eye on that. And that's what's going to give us that drive to be motivated. We've got to see where our empowered future really looks like and where it's at to be there. I mean, we can literally, I could probably go over there and take off some of the stuff on our dream board now, because we've accomplished it already this year. So it's, and add more stuff on. And that's what it's those things and those ideas, and just seeing people be impacted and influenced in a positive way about what it is that we do, just motivates us just to keep going. And it's a feeling. You're doing the right thing when you feel it. Mm-hmm. You can feel it. It's part of who you are, and this is part of who we are. We love helping people find out where they are and where they need to be.
Awesome, man. Well, I love talking to people that are in alignment with what they're doing and are just fighting the good fight. And I think what you guys are doing is just very powerful and very cool. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think that we're probably going to wrap it up. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we end the show?
No, I think you did a great job, Robert, with the questions you've asked. I just want to throw it out to everybody. Just reach out to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love to connect.
We'd love to talk to people.
We can help.
And so just reach out to us and schedule. You can go right to our website and schedule a chat. Not going to cost you anything. We're not sending you a bill. We're not collecting your physical address to come find you or nothing. And we'd love to chat with you and talk to you and see what your needs are and see how we can help you. And that's all. And if we can't help you, we know people that can. I'd much rather you reach out to somebody than nobody at all. So that's all I wanted to finish up with.
Well, lovely, man. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for coming here. Everybody listening, I know you learned something. I know I did. So be sure to like and share this episode with somebody else, somebody that you care about that could use some clarity in their lives or learn about leadership. And I just want to thank Sherri and Lou for coming on, and everybody listening. Be sure to go check out their social medias and follow them, and maybe sign up for their coaching. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.